1,000 days into the Yemen crisis, aid workers are urging world powers to bring an end to a forgotten conflict. Photographs of children starving to death have failed to spur the international community into ending the world's worst humanitarian crisis, which charities warn is deepening by the day.
Yemen is regarded as like an invisible conflict. It's like one of the war that's like the word forgotten. It's a crisis that has never been heard before, and it's just recently being surfaced into the community, and then like recently being sort of like noticed by the world populations as well.
The charity Save the Children expects 50,000 children to have unnecessarily died by the end of this year, with a crippling blockade on ports and airports compounding food shortages and a cholera outbreak affecting nearly 1 million people. At the top of many aid workers' wish list is to see the Saudi-led coalition, which has been battling Houthi rebels since 2015, lift the blockade, which has drastically reduced their ability to bring in food and medical supplies. Under a newly launched online campaign called Yemen Can't Wait, some 350 public figures have signed an open letter urging the United States, Britain and France to do more to end a war that has claimed more than 8,700 lives. The letter calls on US President Donald Trump, his French counterpart Emmanuel Macron and British Prime Minister Theresa May to push for an immediate ceasefire and peace talks as permanent members of the UN Security Council. It pointed to these countries' lucrative arms contracts with Saudi Arabia, which is determined to crush the rebels it sees as proxies for arch-rival Iran. The United Nations Humanitarian Coordinator for Yemen, Jamie McGoldrick, held a press conference yesterday in Sana'a on the situation in Yemen.
Let me just say that, you've seen a lot of newspaper and media reports about the UN leaving and the international community leaving. Let me tell you straight that we're not leaving, we're not moving, or we're not relocating to anywhere else. We are here working with the bulk of the population who require assistance, 70% in the north and 30% in the south. And that's over 11 million people who are what we declare in acute need. And that's 1 million more than last year.
The United Nations has listed Yemen as the world's #1 humanitarian crisis, with 7 million people on the brink of famine and a cholera outbreak that has caused more than 2,000 deaths. The country's health system has collapsed, and the UN on Tuesday urged what they called a humanitarian pause in the fighting to allow aid to reach desperate civilians.